Good morning, dear participants of the 32nd International Congress of Psychology. Let me present our scientific research poster. The title is Children's Hyperactive Behavior of Primary School Years and its Correction. So first of all, let me introduce the authors of this scientific research poster. The first author is Manshuk Kussainova. The second author is Nursapa A. Akhmetov. The second co-author is Asıl K. Arenova. The third co-author is Zamira Janadilimna Ayjanova. The fourth co-author is Talgatbek Ayazbayev. The fifth co-author is Mirver Slemkhavna Tlyubayeva. Category is school. Detailed topic is behavior analysis. Keywords are behavior, hyperactive, and primary. So let's turn to the purpose of the study. It is a development of a comprehensive program of correction of hyperactive behavior of young school children and an assessment of its effectiveness. To determine the level of predisposition of children to hyperactive behavior, a battery of the following methods was used. The first one is to determine the level of freedom. The method of etiquette is used, which allows to determine the level of hyperactivity. The second one is to determine the level of free attention. In children, used the method of yes and no, which allows to determine the level of hyperactivity. So let's move on research goals. Research goals here we can mention like to divide the selected group of hyperactive children into 3 equal groups for average hyperactivity with a single number of participants. Corrective work on the program developed by one of these groups, which is carried out without the participation of parents. Experimental group number 1. The third one is corrective work on the program developed by the second group, which is carried out with the participation of parents. This one is experimental group number 2. In the process, parents are involved who pay more attention to the upbringing of their children. So, as I have mentioned, research goals. Now we can discuss here that having calculated the students' criterion, we got the following results. Experimental group number 1, without the participation of adults, showed a decrease in hyperactivity. The number of errors in the yes and no and the etiquette techniques decreased by an average of 3 points, indicating the development of free attention and the free movement. The number of points, according to the contouring method, has increased, which allows drawing conclusions about the development of the musculoskeletal system, and a survey of parents shows a significant decrease in symptoms of hyperactive behavior. In the experimental groups number 2, with parents, there was a decrease in the level of hyperactivity. The number of errors allowed in the method of yes and no decreased by an average of 3 points, which allows to make a separate split. And increase the number of points by the method of contouring, which allows us to make deductions about the development of the support motor apparatus. The survey of parents shows a significant reduction in the symptoms of hyperactive behavior. At the same time, the etiquette method showed a significant reduction in the number of errors in this group. And the technique of etiquette is used to determine the level of freedom, which allows you to determine the level of hyperactivity. The method is performed in the following sequence. The child is asked to follow only the instructions of the driver with the word please. The content of the instructions is related to exercise. The processing of the results is carried out by calculating the points of errors in the exercises performed without the word please. For each mistake, 1 point is added, and the worst the task, and a person can get more points. In the contouring technique, the child is presented with superimposed images of geometric shapes. And there was a kind of just assignment, like maybe to find each shape and draw with colored pencils. Also, processing of the results here, B1 and 2, each correctly and clearly drawn figure is estimated at 2 points. And number 3 and 4, here 1 point if the child clearly outlines the contour of the figure, if there are no significant gaps on the line, if the figure deviates from the contour, it does not fall into the figure itself and the part on the contour with 0 points. So now let's turn to the analyzing the results, which we can make conclusions. The psychophysiological basis of a child's hyperactive behavior is immaturity and brain dysfunction. We say how we can say by the type of cerebral dysfunction. A negative social psychological factor is like family circumstances, upbringing in an incomplete family, frequent conflicts, low marital status, low level of education. For the treatment and correction of hyperactive behavior, we recommend drug therapy or psychotherapy, or also some kind of special training courses can be used. So generally what we want to discuss and to share with you these issues. Now, if you have any questions, you can write to our email, or otherwise even during ICP International Congress of Psychology. During this time, we can have a kind of discussion, and at that time, you can also ask your questions. Okay, thank you. Thank you for your attention.